All right, good afternoon. As you know, today we made the decision to part ways with Coach Gundy. These decisions are never easy and happen only after much consideration. As with any head coaching change, this impacts not only one person and one family, but many. And all are good people working very hard for our student athletes and for Oklahoma State University. We are forever grateful to Mike Gundy. Between his playing days as quarterback for the Cowboys and his years as coach, he has spent over half his life at OSU. He has raised his family here in Stillwater. He is a Cowboy. You've seen much of this before, but it is worth repeating. Mike Gundy finished his playing career as the Big 8 Conference career passing leader. As head coach, he led the Cowboys to the best era of sustained success in program history, highlighted by a Big 12 championship in 2011, 5 New Year's Six bowl appearances, and 8 10-win seasons. His 170 career coaching victories are 108 more than any other coach in school history. A 3-time selection as Big 12 Coach of the Year, Coach Gundy was honored as National Coach of the Year in 2011 and 2021. He ranks 6th in college football history with 12 bowl victories, trailing only Joe Paterno, Bobby Bowden, Nick Saban, Bear Bryant, and Mac Brown. His 102 victories in Big 12 games trail only Bob Stoops and Bill Snyder. Coach Gundy coached more than 500 graduates, 48 All-Americans, 7 major award winners, and 42 NFL draft picks at OSU. In short, we all have high expectations for OSU football because of Mike Gundy. Unfortunately, the results of the last year have not met the standard. Decisions and significant investments were made following the end of the 2024 season intended to make us better. The outcomes so far this season have also not met expectations, leading to the decision that it is in the best interest of OSU to start the process of identifying the next head coach of Cowboy football. It is the athletic director's primary job to make tough decisions like this. Knowing this choice has broad implications for the entire institution, I have had lengthy discussions with President Hess, and we are of one mind and in lockstep in this decision. I'm grateful for his support. I'm also grateful to Doug Meacham for agreeing to be the interim coach during this period, and I'm grateful to Rob Glass for agreeing to lead the administrative duties of Cowboy football so Coach Meacham can focus on our student athletes and the team. I was so proud to see the terrific attendance at our game Friday night. I want to thank our fans for demonstrating loyal and true. In particular, I want to thank the students who come early, stand in line, fill the student section, and together with the Cowboy Marching Band, inject infectious energy into Boone Pickens Stadium. In the remaining 5 home games on the schedule, it will be very important that OSU fans continue to come out and support our players, our program, and our university. Again, this decision in no way should take away from the years of success OSU football has had under Coach Gundy's leadership. Thanks to him, we know winning the Big 12 championship, going to the college football playoff, and competing for championships are realistic goals. They remain attainable goals, but the stakes are high and competition is intense. It will be critically important for the OSU family to unite behind the next leader of Cowboy football. With that, I'll pause and take questions.
Chad, did you can you confirm that you did get a new contract? That you did get a new contract?
But we're not here to talk about my deal. I'm
just yes or no.
No, that is not something that's completed, and that's something that I'm not worried about at this time. I feel very good about where I'm at. I feel great about my relationship with President Hess and his leadership of this university. Feel great about about our board and the support from the board. So I'm not worried about that
So,
today.
with regard to Mike's relationship with the university, to what extent was it damaged, do you think, Chad, last November when he said what he said about fans, and it seemed to anger donors and it seemed to anger fans, but just how important or significant was that moment in this process?
Yeah, this isn't about one moment. We were stacking up moments, right? There's a whole lot of moments that are in the good category, but this is about the bigger picture, and absolutely, our donors and our fans are critically important. That's true all the time, and it's more important now than it ever has been. But this was not about one moment.
Chad, two questions. Kind of piggybacking off of that, when did you know that there had been enough moments that this was the decision you'd ultimately have to make?
Yeah, I think that speaks a little bit to the timing of how we've gotten here. This was not something that, I thought we would be doing today on this Tuesday, right? I fully expected to beat the University of Tulsa. I expected the results of this season to be different than they've been so far. Again, that goes back to the expectation level that Coach Gundy has set for this program. We have higher expectations than that. So when it just appeared that that was not going to be met, I felt like for the good of the program, it was time to, make this decision so that we could start the process of, getting the program where we want it to be. And that's, it's hard. I think the first decision is, what is the decision? And the next decision is, what is the timing of it? And that, in a lot of ways, can be a harder decision because I've not yet seen when is a good time or perfect time to do something like this. There's no such thing. It is a hard thing to do, and there's consequences of however you do it. But I felt like in this case, we needed to do it now so that we could position the program to move forward in the future.
That leads to my second question on the timing. Obviously, it's a midseason firing, and those are still relatively rare in college football. Why did you think that was important? And a Tuesday, your team's already down the road on their week. Just the timing, big picture, but also small picture this week.
Yeah, again, there's no time that's good, and like I say, this was not something that last week I was thinking that we would be doing here today. And so, but there are things that we have to do once the decision is made, right? There's a lot of steps, and it was more important for me to get those things right and than to hurry up and make the decision. And so it was just about what was in the best interest of moving the program forward in the long term. I mean, I get that we've got, there's things right here in the here and now this week, today, tomorrow, but we also have to be looking at what's better for the program over the next year, 2 years, 5 years.
Chad, hindsight's always 20/20. When you look back at last December, can you talk about would that have been a better time for this coaching change, and was there a lot of consideration then for a coaching change to where you're at today?
And my expectation was that we would, be winning football games this season, right? So no, that was not. I don't look back on that and think we should have made that decision then. I feel very comfortable with the decision that we made to go into this football season and see where we could go. So.
And also, when you informed the team, were you at the team meeting that informed the team? And if so, what was their demeanor? What was their reaction when they got the official news?
I think it would be about like you would expect. I mean, it was just quiet. I mean, this is, in some cases, I'm sure it's the first time that most of those players have been through anything like this, and I get that, right? I'm very sensitive to that, and so my main message to them is, look, there is, first of all, there's nobody in this room that this is their fault, right? And but there are a lot of people here at OSU that are here for you, and your coaches, the staff here. So, I feel really good about the support that we have around them, and they're here to play football, and that has not changed. They get to go to practice this afternoon. They've got a game this weekend, and that's what we want them to do, and want them to have fun doing it, want them to compete, and I think that's our expectation.
Yeah, Chad, regardless of contract status, have you been charged with finding the next coach? Is that you said it's what
Yes.
your number one priority
Yes.
now is finding the next coach?
Yes.
What are you looking for? What are your priorities? What when you make your list of what you're looking for, what's on that list?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll have the opportunity, I think, to get into that later. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on that. I mean, to Jenny's point, I think football, the game, has changed, and so I think that as we have discussions with potential candidates for our football coaching search, I'm going to be interested in hearing, how they see building the program, building the vision for how they establish a winning program. Look, we've proven that we can win here. Again, that goes back to the success that we have had under Coach Gundy. We've proven that we have a lot of success, a lot of support for this program. The ingredients are here, and I feel very, very confident about that. I know that I will be able to talk about that with any coaching candidates. This is a place that you can win football games at. Again, Coach Gundy has proven that. But there are things about the game that has changed, and so I want to hear, what the vision is from any of our candidates about how they would approach that.
Chad, as far as Friday night, it's been 4 days since then. What played out from that point to Mike Gundy speaking yesterday, still in this job, to this morning, things changing? What transpired over those 4 days?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What transpired in the 4 days since Tulsa that led us to here, and how was the news delivered to Coach Gundy?
Well, I met with Coach Gundy this morning, and I'm not going to get into details of that conversation. I feel like that's between he and I, as I would feel that way about anyone. But I can tell you that it was I will say it was a good conversation. I really appreciate the way that Coach Gundy handled everything in that conversation. And again, I go back to what I said, I think, when Jenny asked, is that it was more important, I think, for me to get this right. And, I think a lot of that is because here we are dealing with a coach that's in his 21st season and has had a lot of success here. And so I just wanted to make sure that, that we were able to handle all of that the right way. And that takes time. And I, again, I'm not worried about this week or the next 2 weeks. I'm worried about next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. So,
Given that history, was he offered the opportunity to see out the season? Was that on the table at any point?
that was not discussed.
Chad, for 4 years before you became the AD, you essentially worked out of the football building. You were there a lot. So does this feel more personally difficult for you because you were kind of shoulder to shoulder with Mike all that time? Well, really, for 8 years. Right?
Yeah, like I said, this is never easy. These are people that we work with every day, and we know their families, we know their wives, we know their kids, we know, so no, I mean, it's not easy, and yeah, when I was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, a year ago, this was not a place that I thought I would be standing on September, 23rd of 2025, whatever day it is. And so, yeah.
How do you feel? I mean, you're still only a few weeks removed from massive surgery. So
Yeah.
how are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I feel good. I feel blessed that I've told a couple people don't ask me to throw any hay bales around anytime soon. But other than that, I'm doing good.
So in the last 12 to 18-ish months, obviously the atmosphere of the game has changed drastically in college football. Mike Gundy referred to a lack of NIL funds on a few occasions in that time frame, maybe using that as the reason for not being able to compete at the highest level like we've been used to for his entire tenure. Do you believe that is a valid or acceptable excuse for OSU football?
You know, the game has changed, and for sure. And I think there are a few programs out there that are highly resourced, especially in the era that we've come out of, you know, the collective era and all of those things. As we move into the revenue sharing, I think that has the potential to change a little bit, and we don't need to get into all of that now. What I am extremely comfortable of is we are resourced at the level that we need to be resourced at. I mean, this is not an inexpensive football team that we have on the field this season. I feel really good about the investment that we've made here. I feel great about the support that we have here. I think, again, all you have to do is go back to the game on Friday and remind you that this was a Friday night football game, and coming off a 3-9 football season and coming off the game before, and we had a full house. We have 123 suites that are sold out. We've got 3,600 club seats. This place has support, and there are people who are committed to winning here. Our donors are committed to winning here and giving us the resources that we need to win here. Our administration is supportive. We have won football games here, and we can win football games here. It's not like I'm going to be talking to candidates about some kind of dream or something that's never happened here before. I'm going to be talking about, you know, continuing the standard that has been established here, and we have the support for that. We need to continue to grow that support. I'm not saying that, and this is, I think, you know, continued opportunity for the OSU family to come together and support this program.
And so to follow up on that, obviously, I know this is a tough time with everything being so fresh, but do you anticipate to have that continued support in the post-Gundy era?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think that is loyal and true. That's our people, you know, so yes, I do, and I expect that.
Hey, Chad. Before the 2024 season, you just speaking to what Gundy accomplished, you mentioned that throughout your tenure, you felt confident OSU is far above the cut line in terms of, that's what you called it, the big picture of college football. Do you feel like in the last year and a half, the margin y'all had above that cut line has shrunk, and does that make this search now even more critical?
So I believe that we are in a window of time here that is critical. You know, television contracts for conferences will be coming up in the next 5 years, and that has typically been the trigger for conference realignment. And so I think we are in a critical period. And I think winning is a big part of setting yourself up for success in whatever happens, right? And so it is important that you know, we get back to the standard of Cowboy football. It's important that we make a really good decision with the hire, and it's important that we get behind him and support him at a level that he can be successful with this program.
Just to follow up, because of all of that happening, just the changes in college athletics overall, does that make a decision like this maybe have to happen faster than it would have a couple years ago?
Yeah, and I think Jenny may have asked that question before too. I mean, in that, yeah, these are new times. You know, I don't know if they're unprecedented times or whatever, but as you know, the game changes, right, and all the rules around the game and the you know, when the portals open and all those things, I think those do have an impact on you know, some of these types of decisions. I mean, you all are aware we're not the first school that has a coaching opening this season. So, yes, 10 or 15 years ago, this would have been highly unusual, but we're not playing under the rules that we had 10 or 15 years ago. So we have to adjust to all of the, you know, the different intangibles or the different things that you've brought up. So.
That being said, Chad, with the midseason, I mean, it's obviously been forever since you guys have hired a football coach, and not in midseason. I don't know if ever that's happened. So what's your hope and expectation of timing and how this might work? Because obviously you're going to be looking primarily at candidates that would be coaching. So when would you like to have someone in place, and how could they operate even though they might still be employed elsewhere?
Right. Yeah, I think that virtually everyone that we'll be looking at is going to be coaching, and but I think that what this does is it allows us to be in a good position for moving as soon as they are finished with their coaching, but also helps us be able to lay a lot of groundwork about our program again and get it ready for success, answer those questions that any candidates may have about our program. So that's what we'll be doing over the course of these next few weeks.
Chad, one of the big concerns about the parting ways with Gundy was the $15 million buyout. I'm curious if you're willing to discuss kind of where the university came up with that $15 million. That's not a small sum of money.
It'll come out of just our revenues, our operating budget, those sorts of things. So no, it's not a small amount of money, especially today when we're trying to do revenue sharing and all of those things. But it is just part of it, and we will honor our contractual obligations. So.
Following up on that, was there any donor support for that buyout?
I did not ask any donors to support that buyout.
Thank you.
Chad, I'm curious your message to OSU fans, many of which would agree with your decision today, many of which would not.
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's the case with almost every decision I make, right? And so that just comes with the territory. I think the message is, regardless of what you think about the decision, regardless of what you think about me, that's not what it's about. This is about the program. It's about the university. And if you love OSU and you love Cowboy football, then we need you behind it. That is what makes it successful, is we have to have the family come together and align and get behind this program. And there's lots of ways to voice your disagreements with me or my decisions, and I'm always open to that, right? I'll listen to anybody that wants to give me their opinion. But I hope that we can take off the table not supporting this program, because I don't understand what good that does for anyone. And I don't believe that'll be the case. And that, this place. I mean, that's not how, again, I just point back to our Friday night football game and that crowd. I think that is a great, perfect example of what this place is about. And so I think they'll be there and they'll be behind this team now and moving forward.
Yeah, right here. You mentioned that this decision, you're not as concerned with the next week or 2 weeks. What is a realistic timeline for a new staff to be able to get this program to a level that you'd be happy with?
I'm not going to put a time frame on it. I think that would be doing a disservice, to our next coach. That's something we can certainly talk about in the process, and something that he may want to address that question when he gets the opportunity to stand up here and do that. But I'm not ready to do that right now, and certainly not going to do that to him, whoever that is. So.
Chad, kind of on the flip side of what you're talking about with the fan support, at Virginia Tech, after they fired their coach, they saw an increase in donations and funds coming in. Do you anticipate, do you have any feeling that something like that could happen? And it's not just as a slight to Coach Gundy, but
right.
Just the idea of a clean slate.
That's not the way we're going to approach it, for sure. And but we're always trying to increase our donations and increase our revenue and all of those things. And so we'll continue those efforts for sure. And again, and it is important, right? That's going to be the message. Is it doesn't. We can go out and hire a great football coach, but if he doesn't have the resources that he needs to compete at this level of college football, it's not going to matter. It's not going to work. And so I anticipate that our fans will get on board with that. Our donors will get on board with that, just like they have. Again, I go back to we aren't lacking for support. I know there's people out there that think that we are, but this is not the 1980s OSU. We have come a long, long way from then. I would invite any of you to, see how many other schools have 123 suites in their football stadium. Something that was unfathomable right back then. And but now, not only do we have them, but they're full. So I just say that to say I feel really good about the support that we have here. But it is the competition is intense. We're not the only school trying to win football games. We're not the only donor base that is supporting their program in order to do so. So it is just competition, and we've got to continue to step up and compete at the highest level if we want to win at the highest level.
Chad, were there any talks with Mike about negotiating the buyout down for maybe this to end differently, whether it was maybe him staying on through the rest of the year?
We did not. Nope, we did not have those discussions
And
at the meeting this morning. That was not what it was about.
How important, if at all, are OSU ties when looking at a next head coach?
That can be a factor. I think, as it is probably at any school, it's not the only factor. I mean, we've had a lot of success here, right, with our alums, and Coach Gundy obviously being one of the best examples of that. But we've also had a lot of success here with non-alums, and so we will be looking for the best person for the job regardless of that.
Mike's new staff had, I believe, multi-year contracts. What's the total price tag on the contract commitment that you guys will?
I'm not going to get into details of that, Barry, because I mean I'm sure that's an open record somewhere. That's not what it's about. What I've asked that staff to do is, I mean, I get right that this is a disruption for them, and the most important thing to them, I'm sure, is their livelihood and their families. But they are under contract, and they're under contract to work here right now, and so I've asked them to stay focused on that, and primarily for our team and our student athletes, and I believe that they will do that, and this obviously gives them the opportunity to be in the market for other jobs if if that's what they're looking for. And there's things in the contracts that can help mitigate our expenses if they do along those lines. But the most important thing is that we need them to bring this season on to completion, and then we can go from there. And I believe they'll do that.
I'll take Bill's question. I'll take Jenny's question, and then we'll call it good from there. So Bill, go ahead.
Okay. So it's been 25 years since the school had to hire a football coach. I mean, Mike was an automatic promotion same day that Les was introduced at LSU. Mike was introduced here. So I just wonder, and you're only a few months removed from the Steve Lutz search, but because this is football, I wonder is it an entirely different kind of search for you in terms of identifying candidates and vetting candidates and all that? Is it really going to be a different kind of process for you this time?
No, I don't think it'll be different, significantly different in the way I want to run the search. Probably the biggest difference is there's more time. But I think the most important thing, Bill, is that we run a high integrity search. And the importance of that is if everyone knows that it is going to be a high integrity search, then I think your candidate pool, increases. Because there's people out there that have jobs, and they may not want everyone to know that they have an interest in this job. And so we will run a high integrity search for that reason.
I got two unrelated things for you, Chad. First, Doug and Rob and their roles. What do you think that'll look like? Obviously, it sounds like Doug will be more on the football side, but how will that look, sort of in your mind?
I think the best way I can put it is, kind of everything in between the lines is going to be Coach Meacham, and everything outside the lines will be, Coach Glass's responsibility. So I think that's a great combination. I mean, obviously with Coach Glass, we have somebody that's been here for as long as Coach Gundy has been, knows the program inside and out, and I have a lot of trust in him. I think he's got trust among the entire football operations, and I think what that does is it allows Coach Meacham in this time to focus on the team and not be worrying about all the myriad of other things that's part of a football coach's duties and responsibilities these days, and it's enormous, right? All the moving parts that are involved with that. And so right now, because we are in the season and things are moving, I wanted to make it to where Coach Meacham could focus on the team, game planning for upcoming Baylor and Arizona next week and those kinds of things, and not be worried about all of the other moving parts. I think Coach Glass has that covered.
You referenced earlier the fact that the TV contracts will be up in a few years and the importance of being where you want to be, stable footing for a conference realignment. But I'm wondering sort of more locally the importance of football being healthy for the overall athletic department, university. You kind of alluded to that in your opening comments, but just, I mean, what that importance is as you look at it more holistically as the athletic director.
Yeah. That's exactly right. President Hess and I have those conversations, as I think every athletic director and president around the country are having those conversations, and that is part of why, this is not just an athletics decision. This impacts the entire institution. I think it's, you can read all kinds of articles almost every day about, the value that an athletics department brings to the institution in terms of the national reach and the marketing and promotion of the institution, the number of eyeballs that are on games every Saturday, those kinds of things. It's a marketing arm that is hard to put a dollar figure on, and so I think those are all important to the institution, to enrollment, to donations across the board, and those are the conversations that I've had with President Hess, and like I said, he's been very, very supportive.
Chad, having seen this at other schools, kind of knowing what the process looks like from a recruiting standpoint, already had an in-state running back decommit today. You got 2 4-star defensive linemen committed, actually a pretty good recruiting class. And I know it's a bigger picture decision, but how much of a concern is losing a recruiting cycle?
Yeah, I mean, it's a concern, Robert, but I think, as you know, that's going to happen about any time that you do it. That's just part of it. Now, just because they're decommitting doesn't mean they can't recommit, and that's part of the challenge is we want to stay in the in that conversation with them, and I'm sure some of them will, but we hope not, and we're going to work to try to make it not. We are I think what we would ask is just give us a little bit of time, wait and see what it is that we do, and then you can make that decision.
Signing day in December, are you looking to try and get something in place before that signing day?
I'm aware of the timeline and all the implications of that, and so yes, that will all be in consideration, but not at the expense of getting who we think is the right coach for the long term.
Gary, this will be the final question.
Yeah, Chad, you actually had some viable options to be the interim head coach. Why did you go with Doug?
We had some conversation about that, and I think for a number of different reasons. But I felt like that he was, the person that by elevating him to that position would be sort of the least disruptive to all of the other positions. You know, if we were elevating someone else, I think it could create more moving parts than we already have. He is an alum, so he, I think, has an understanding of this place and the culture and the program, and so I think that was also a factor. So just one thing I will say is that, you know, we look forward to continuing to celebrate Coach Gundy and his accomplishments. There'll be a time and a place soon for that to happen here, and we will do those things. So we are very appreciative of everything that he has done for this place, for this university, and for this program. So, thank you.